What it do, Cuxtis? It's your boy the Hater, and I'm back home up in this piece. You know what I'm saying? I went to Texas, went to Frisco, and a place called Prosper, Texas. Your boy had a pretty good time. Dallas, I didn't like very much. There was nothing to do. The city was ugly. I didn't enjoy it. What do you think of them apples? But I hopped on a plane, came back, and before I go to bed. Before I went to bed, obviously I'm still up, cucks. But the fact of the matter is, the Hater couldn't do it. I couldn't go to bed without giving the people what they crave. And that is a raw review up in this mug. The Hater's up late, recording in his jammies, doing it for his family. You can bet your hat we're gonna go over it segment by segment. Now, it goes without saying, the title of the video should give it away. This was the worst episode of Raw of all time. All right, motherfuckers. Now, I've been accused of saying this in the past, but anybody that's honest knows that I haven't said this in a while. You know, the reality is, for example, last week, I actually enjoyed Raw, but this was the worst episode of all time. And as usual, the Hater's not gonna just say it for no reason. You know, a lot of people who are dumbasses, right, they comment on my videos, they're like, this guy always says it's the worst of all time. Shut it. Every time I say something, I back it up with arguments and facts. And this time ain't any different. Cucks. The show starts out, Rhea Ripley comes out and says, it's time for her to think about what's next. I mean, it's been nearly a year of her fighting the Judgment Day, and now, like, she beat Raquel, and that was, like, the time when it's time to move on? Like, why? You know what I mean? But whatever. She says she's gonna do it. Iyo Sky comes out, puts over the fact that we've got, like, you know, WWE Evolution coming up, which honestly, I fucking hate conceptually. Right? This weird American obsession with correcting quote unquote past injustices is stupid, right? The reality is that women are not as good at wrestling as men are, right? Now, they can have their own pay-per-view. I don't give a shit. But, like, imagine if you had, like, a men-only pay-per-view, right? The neckbeards would lose their mind. No, Hater, we used to have this all the time. Yeah, and wrestling was watched by, like, 10 million people. Now, we're going to have WWE Evolution. It's going to be watched by like 10 people, you know? Anyways, neither here nor there. For some reason, it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but Iyo Sky has the right to decide who she's going to defend the title against, so she chooses Rhea by virtue of Rhea being the best. Personally, I think it's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Why would the champion choose the challenger? That's not entertaining. You can't just do that. You know what I mean? Now, anyways, this is the match that people will probably want to see, and Rhea's probably going to win back the title. You know, rendering everything that's happened thus far completely meaningless, which is an ongoing theme in the current WWE landscape. Speaking of completely meaningless, it's time for the New Day to defend their title against the Judgment Day. The New Day versus the Judgment Day. Like, at this point, I'm not going to say the New Day is one of the worst tag teams of all time. That would be an exaggeration. The New Day is obviously a great tag team historically. They've been around for like 10 years, so you got to give them props for that. But this current New Day run is one of the worst tag team title runs of all time. Right there with Fraxium and right there with the current run of the Street Profits. This is a complete throwaway run. You know, nothing will come of this, just like nothing will come of the Street Profits being champions. What's next for the Street Profits? They're going to lose the titles eventually, right? And then what are they going to do? They're going to try to get them back again. That's boring as shit. And it's one thing to do this in cool-ass matches and be featured prominently one way or another with the prospectus of one day being pushed. So, for example, like, you know, nobody thought that Christian and Jeff Hardy would be WWE champions, but they became WWE champions. Nobody thought Matt Hardy would have as many successful singles runs as he had. Nobody thought that the Dudley Boys would go down as the best tag team ever, in my opinion. And nobody, well, some people thought Edge would get like a big push, but I don't think anybody foresaw that Edge would be what he is today. Whereas, for example, like Xavier Woods, the Street Profits, fucking, at this point, like JD McDonough, you know, Ivar and Eric, these people are never going to have any kind of single success, right? Whereas in the past, every prominent WWE tag team either had or would have some sort of successful run. You know what I mean? Like, for example, the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn had many successful runs as singles wrestlers. They also had many other runs that were successful, like Billy Gunn had a tag team with Chuck Palumbo, right? He became Intercontinental Champion. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other things that they did. Like, Montez Ford is never going to do any of these things. This is a complete waste of time. You know, they're just there for no reason. You might as well just fire them. But anyways, they don't do that. Instead, they put on a match. New Day versus Judgment Day. For some reason, Finn Balor is over. The match itself is not bad. But the problem is, the entire premise of this match is that the New Day and the Judgment Day, neither team wrestles frequently enough, right? When Judgment Day were champions, that was the entire point. They were heels who never defended their titles. Now the New Day are heels who never defended their titles. The New Day heel turn should be studied in writing school as one of the worst concepts ever created. The New Day heel turn should have been epic, but it is now, in my personal opinion, right there with the many Carlito heel turns back in the day as the worst heel turn of all time because absolutely nothing was accomplished. It is fucking stupid. They gave him one of the dumbest theme songs of all time. I can envision the guy who raps the New Day theme song, like in a studio. I can just envision him like rapping like he's saying something smart. You know, he's like, a new day came, a new day went, a new day sucked, a new day built, a new day rocked. Shut the fuck up, man. Shut the fuck up. Stop it. Stop doing this to us. Stop putting out this kind of shit music. Like that guy, if his family loved him, the rapper that sings the New Day song, they would tell him, kid, it's never gonna happen. You know, in America, people don't get told no enough times. And everybody grows up with this retarded level of confidence, right? That's why in high school, you know, like 12 kids at least that want to be rappers. And you're like, why doesn't somebody just tell them, like, aside from me and our peers, why doesn't somebody just tell them, like, dude, you're fucking shit at this. It's not even that hard to do, and you're shit at it, right? Just tell them, man. Like, this is why you got people going to American Idol. They have like no talent whatsoever. They're like, oh, I have a vocal coach. And then they sing, they make an ass out of themselves. And that asswipe Simon Cowell then makes fun of them. You know what I'm saying? You know, Americans need a little bit of a reality check. But anyways, the match was pretty decent, but basically it ends as follows. Finn Balor is massively like over at this point with the Pittsburgh crowd. He kicks out of a bunch of shit. JD McDonough hits the moonsault on one of the New Day guys, and then Finn Balor hits the coup de grace and pins his monkey ass. Now, I should note that in this match, we have Kofi Kingston, who is a former WWE champion, who is getting his ass beat by JD McDonough. I mean, this is just like a level of unacceptable that should never exist. I remember when JBL was on commentary, he would say things like there'd be like a Benoit match right before Benoit killed his family when he was like a mid-card jobber, right? And then it'd be like, oh, what do you think Benoit's chances are against like, I don't know, A-Train, right? And JBL would be like, Benoit's a former world champion. You know, he can never be the underdog. He's a former world champion. You know, the former world champion should never be presented in this light. That's like the whole point. You become a world champion, and the idea is like, you will never be compared to JD McDonough again. Speaking of JD McDonough, he tries to do like a poetry in motion and jump on the top turnbuckle to do a Spanish fly, fails miserably. Then he has to climb it regularly, and everyone has to pretend that this didn't happen. This was not an entertaining match. It was good in the sense that a lot of cool things happened, right? All four guys are decent enough wrestlers. But the problem is nobody cares about either one of these teams. Like, think about it this way, dumb fucks. Does it make any difference if New Day or Judgment Day are tag team champions? Like, what's the difference? What is the difference? It doesn't matter who wins or loses. The winner is going to wrestle Ivar and Eric, probably. You know, there's nothing ventured and nothing gained. How about just give the Creed brothers the titles? You know, maybe they'll be onto something. But instead, they just keep playing hot potato between like jobber-ass tag teams that are never going to produce any kind of single stars. Like, at the end of the day, even Kofi Kingston, who in my opinion is a certified Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer that is, like, if we're being realistic, like, he's never fucking drawn a dime. Maybe when he debuted and he had the Jamaican gimmick, and the New Day, of course, they've drawn a couple of dimes here and there just because they were around for so long. But Kofi Kingston is not this massive draw. You know what I mean? Like, he's not as big of a draw even as, like, Godfather or something. Right? Nobody really gives a shit about Kofi Kingston. And he's the biggest star out of all these guys. The rest of them, JD McDonough, Finn Balor, like fucking Xavier Woods, these guys are burdens on the company. They take more than they give. They're like Dolph Ziggler's. They just add absolutely nothing. They're there for no reason. Stealing money daily from this company. Anyways, That's what I was gonna say about that, motherfucks. These are two teams that are known to never wrestle. And Michael Cole makes this point. He's like, New Day should have wrestled more. And it's like, dude, they just lost to the tag team that like defended the titles like twice in like 8 months. You know, whatever. Who cares? For the next hour or so, we get a bunch of filler segments, right? These are meant to catch us all the fuck up based on like what has happened. Chad Gable is shown to be injured, right? And they start this mini story about what is American Made gonna do now that Chad Gable is injured. More on this a little bit later, but I think you can see why this is a fucking retarded ass storyline. Anyways, Finn and JD backstage tell the GMs, who for some reason now just appear together. What the fuck is going on, man? It's like these two guys are like, they're like gay lovers at this point because every time you see one, you see the other one right behind his ass. It's the weirdest thing. The entire point between them is that one is on Raw, one's on SmackDown. Now there's just like two of them. They make decisions together. It's fucking annoying and I hate it. But in this segment, it actually makes sense. Finn and JD basically say like Roxanne should be Raquel's partner. This is retarded, right? Obviously, everyone saw this coming. But why the fuck are JD McDonough and Finn Balor are the ones to suggest this, right? Why isn't this decision being at least consulted with Roxanne Perez and Raquel? What if Raquel says, no, I don't want this to happen. I'd rather die, right? Or what if Roxanne says, fuck Raquel, I hate all these motherfuckers, right? But they just make the decision behind the back of the people involved, right? They did the same thing with Naomi and Bianca Belair, but like when they did that with them, Naomi was there. And both of the women were like, we want to do this. And they were like, all right, fine, fuck it, you know? Now it's like, nobody gives a shit what Roxanne Perez says, and nobody gives a shit what Raquel Rodriguez says. It's gonna be like this because JD and Finn said so. This is really stupid. Now, to prove that they belong, they're gonna have to defend their titles against a team from Raw, team from SmackDown, and a team from NXT. Who gives a flying fuck? That's gonna happen at Evolution. Now it's time for Sheamus versus Rusev. It feels like they've been pushing this match down our throat for like a month. You know, the match is what you would expect. Sheamus is an awesome in-ring wrestler. You know, the whole banger after banger thing is very apt for someone like Sheamus. Now, in my opinion, Sheamus deserves way better than this, right? The match was decent. It was actually an enjoyable match. At one point, Michael Cole says that this match reminds him of a late 70s match, right? And then Corey Graves says, in all the best ways, right? It's like, first of all, like, those matches were boring as shit. Nobody watched that shit, number one. Number two, I agree, it's a slow and boring match, but because they're heavy hitters, it looks good. Now, the primary issue that I have with this match, the problem that I have, is Rusev. Rusev is complete garbage. Rusev fucking sucks. There is no need, like, whoever hired Rusev again is clinically retarded. There is no need to hire Rusev. Just take Karrion Kross and push him. He is the exact same character as Rusev. He is a retarded guy with no gimmick who is big and does a basic ass moveset. And now he's taking things seriously. That's literally the character for them and Gunther while I'm at it. Obafemi is the same fucking thing. He just acts like a retard in a different way. He poses by bending his knees and putting his hands up like a fucking retard. You know, these are the same retarded character. Just because Obafemi says, I am the ruler, and Rusev says, I am the redeemer, right? That doesn't fucking change anything about their presentation. These are just boring motherfucks, right? There is no need for Rusev. Just bring up Obafemi and have him do exactly what Rusev is doing. Nobody would notice, nobody would care, but at least Obafemi, despite looking like he's 45, is like 25, right? Which once again harkens back to this philosophy. Like, you know, in like 20 years, people are going to be like, wow, Obafemi has looked the exact same in the last 20 years. Yeah, he's looked 40, 48 for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? It's going to be weird. And then people are going to be like, wow, he hasn't aged one day. Yeah, because when he was 25, he looked 48. So it's, you know, like, what is he going to look like in 10 years? 79? You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I don't really like Obafemi. I don't really like Gunther, obviously. I sure as shit don't like Karrion Kross, but I recognize that Rusev, who ironically in the past I used to like, he adds nothing. He adds nothing. He is the same guy, you know? So why the fuck is he there? And furthermore, why is he beating Sheamus? Which is exactly what happened. The issue that I have with this is twofold. You got people like Sheamus, like Kofi, like Miz, right? These are former champions. And because they're soldiers and they stick around, periodically they'll have like Aleister Black, or even R-Truth. You can even add R-Truth to this, right? Periodically, you'll have like Aleister Black come back, and he needs a push. right? On the 1% chance that he might amount to something. Like, I already know he won't. I already know Rusev won't. You know, like The Miz is gonna outlast Rusev and Aleister Black in this company, right? Like in 2 years, Rusev and Aleister Black will be back to AEW with like a new exact same gimmick. It's gonna be a new same gimmick. Oh, it's not Malachi Black. It's like Christoph Black. It's Christoph Dark. Oh, this is the real personality. We haven't seen anything like this before, right? Same thing with Drew McIntyre, right? They have these cocksuckers come back, and the idea is, for some reason, it's like, why not just push Sheamus again? You know? Like, Sheamus is better than Drew McIntyre. Anybody that knows anything understands that inherently. Sheamus has a much more interesting look, and Drew McIntyre is one of the interesting ones, you know? But Sheamus just has a very unique presentation. You know, like, if you look at Sheamus and you look at Rusev, you're like, Sheamus is clearly the guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer. And you'd be right, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And so why is he losing to Rusev? Right? I would understand. If you had Obafemi and you wanted him to beat Sheamus, I get it. That helps Obafemi. Because Obafemi does have a small, albeit very small, I should say, possibility of becoming a star one day. In my personal opinion, Obafemi has Rusev written all over him. A lot of people thought Rusev was going to be this massive star too. And I was like, these people have lost their minds. Like in the same way when they're like, oh, Cesaro is going to be a massive star. He's going to headline WrestleMania one day. I'm like, are these people retarded? Like, are they seeing what I'm seeing? Because I see Cesaro and I see exactly what happened to him. You know, I see this guy has Jack Swagger written all over him. You know, but people pretend that he's better than he is. And this is a big problem, you know. But it's getting to the point now that now we reward people that don't show up, that suck so bad that they become jobbers and get released. Sheamus maintains a mid-card status and he has to job every like 3 or 4 years to a returning Rusev type guy. You know, at least have him job to Obafemi. Another thing that I hated about this match, because I can't be angry at the way that like WWE's booking Rusev, because I knew exactly what would happen. But the thing that I hated was the finish of the match. Basically, Rusev like removes, first of all, he pokes Sheamus in the eyes. This is in front of the referee. The referee says, hey, you can't poke him in the eye. Then Rusev removes the turnbuckle padding right in front of the ref, pulls Sheamus' body first into it, then Machka kicks him and pins him. You know? In a regular WWE match. Like if you watch Cucky versus Randy, right? Randy Orton brought in a chair to distract the referee so he could take off the turnbuckle covering. You know? The idea is you cannot take off the turnbuckle covering. If the referee doesn't see it, then you could say it fell off, right? The referee cannot blame it on you because it's a live sport, right? It's a live presentation. You know, in kayfabe, the thing is happening as it's happening, right? If the ref didn't see it, it didn't happen. But you can't do it right in front of him. I thought he was going to get DQ'd, but the ref just let it slide. So answer me this then, dumb fucks. Why the hell is Randy Orton doing this elaborate distraction? Why not just go to the ref and say, suck my balls, and then remove all of the turnbuckle paddings? Why not? Yeah? What's the point? Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Rusev wins. Nobody could possibly care about this. I hated it with a fucking passion of 1,000 suns. After this, we have like the obligatory now, Jackie Redmond, or whatever the fuck her name is, Jackie, is interviewing, what's it called? American Made. And she's asking them the dumbass question that nobody wants answered, right? She's like, what are you going to do with that Gable? Like, what are you talking about? She's presenting it. And first of all, Ivy Nile is complete shit on the mic. This woman should be fired immediately, right? But anyways, the way that Jackie's presenting it is you'd think that she's interviewing like Randy Orton, Batista, and Ric Flair and asking them, what are you going to do now that Triple H is injured? Like, have you people completely lost focus? Have you completely lost your mind? She's asking a jobber, like one of the biggest jobber factions of all time. Like, the combined win-loss record of everyone in American Made over the last like 2 years in their entire existence is like they have like 2 wins and like 178 losses. You know? Something like that probably, right? And she's like, what are you going to do now without Chad Gable? I don't know. How about the same exact thing that we've been doing with Chad Gable? Losing every match and making absolutely zero impact, entertaining absolutely zero people. That's all Ivy Nile has done. She's a complete waste. This is unacceptable, motherfuckers. This actually infuriated me. Because she's asking like, oh, like, how is this going to impact the trajectory of your faction? It's like, all they do is lose. All they fucking do is lose. This would be like if Funaki gets injured and they ask Takumi Shinoku, what are you going to do now? Now I'm going to lose singles matches. I used to lose tag matches. I'm going to lose singles matches. You know? They've never contributed anything to this company. And I'm not saying that like the Creed brothers are talented. Chad Gable is entertaining. But They're jobbers. Like, Chad Gable is not even a mid-carder. Chad Gable, like, if El Grande Americano is like a lower mid-carder, Chad Gable is an undercard nobody. Like, Chad Gable is on the level of Funaki. You know, people think that he's a mid-carder. They're like, oh, he's comparable to like Al Snow or Val Venus. No, he's comparable to Funaki or Scotty 2 Hottie in like a singles run. That's what he is. He is a nothing in this company, right? Like, there is a zero chance. Like, if you could have, they would have periodically, you know, it'd be like Val Venus as part of like Right to Censor versus The Rock on the main event of Raw. And there was a small chance that with some chicanery and some like theatrics that Val Venus could beat The Rock, right? Because it's Val Venus. He's a big, strong guy, and so is The Rock, right? But there was never any doubt. Like, no matter what happens, there's never any doubt that, like, The Rock is going to beat Shannon Moore. You know what I mean? There's a zero chance that Shannon Moore beats The Rock. Wait, here we are, motherfucks. Chad Gable is the Shannon Moore of the modern-day product. Except, honestly, Shannon Moore was more entertaining. But that's neither here nor there. I'm a big Shannon Moore guy. So this is incredibly dumb. And then Jackie does the thing that she does every week, which basically involves her, like, as the interview is coming to an end, she just notices something more interesting happening and goes to approach it. This time it's Sami Zayn. She's like, Sami, you want a big match. Karrion Kross attacks him, right? With a pipe, beats his ass with a pipe. Karrion Kross is obsessed with making Sami Zayn say it, quote unquote. He tells him, say it, Sami. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I forgot. That's how uninteresting this is. I think he wants him to admit that he's like a hypocrite or something. I don't even know, right? But this is fucking stupid. Like, why wouldn't Sami Zayn just say it? Just placate this guy. I said it. Great. And then what's going to happen if he says it? Karrion Kross is going to be like, good? Like, do these people even think of these things? You know, Scarlett put out a tweet saying, like, nobody has worked harder than Karrion Kross. Working hard, as I've said in many videos before, and in a dedicated video, is not sufficient. You also have to be entertaining. These people really think this is like a real sport. Like, they're fucking lost their mind that, oh, he worked hard. Where does he get more opportunities? Because nobody cares. Nobody cares about him. He's a big man who used to be bald and now straightens his hair like a girl, and his gimmick is, say it. Oh, forgive me if nobody could possibly give a flying fuck about whether or not Sami Zayn says it or not. You know? This is a complete waste of everybody's time. Karrion Kross is never going to happen. Just let it go. It's never going to happen, motherfuckers. Everybody that knows anything knows that it's never going to happen. Now, the only chance Karrion Kross has is he gets released, he goes to like New Japan or something like that, right? Becomes like the number one guy in the company, right? Reinvents himself, gets a new gimmick that's not fucking cringe. TikTok. Like, this is the problem, right? I'm going to do a quick Karrion Kross rant. A lot of people, when I said this guy fucking sucks back in the day, people were like, bro, this ain't it, right? And I personally believe that the reason why I was quickly able to predict that Karrion Kross is going to be an abject failure is twofold. Number one, I'm a big wrestling fan. I've seen this happen 1,000 times. A lot of fans are more recent fans. And number two, I am very attuned to what is and isn't cool. And I'm not saying that other people aren't, but obviously some people aren't. It's like, to some people, a guy with a deer tattoo on his back and Japanese characters who says TikTok, right? And he has like a hot girl, right? Who ain't even that hot if you ask me. But anyways, he's got a hot girl that comes out and says, fall and pray. Like, to some people, this is like cool, right? They're like, oh, this reminds me of Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Like, there's people that are like that. To the rest of us who are regular dudes, just like, we just look at it, we're like, why is this happening? You know, why does she come out and say, fall and pray? Like, what the fuck? What is the point of it? Things have to make sense. And when you see that, you're like, this is stupid. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that most people that watch this are going to be like, that's fucking lame. You know, and that's going to be the end of that, right? This is the equivalent of going to like math class and some nerd asks for more homework and you're like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. And then someone asking, well, why do you hate him? Because what he does is inherently boring, motherfucks. So anyways, neither here nor there. This is not going to get to any logical endpoint. Sami Zayn is going to just beat this guy a couple times more. And then Karrion Kross is going to go back to doing the same thing to another person. For 2 years, Karrion Kross has been backstage saying, hey, be a bad guy. With no actual argument, hey, be a bad guy. And everyone's like, go fuck yourself. You're a fucking jobber. You know, a jobber cannot command this kind of respect, right? Karrion Kross, based on the fact that he's never won a match, he can't go there and give people advice. It's fucking stupid, man. He can't intimidate anybody. Like, no real man would ever be intimidated by Karrion Kross. Now, in the real world, sure, he's a big, strong guy. He looks like a tough guy, you know? No doubt about it. He's definitely got the look. But in the context of kayfabe, why would anyone be intimidated by him, right? Like, he says, I'm going to kick your ass. And then the person's going to say, well, considering you've never kicked anybody's ass in this company literally ever, I'm not afraid of you at all, right? They should just pull up his, like, profile on 2K, right? And be like, dude, you have, like, the lowest score right there with, like, fucking Noam Dar, who's never going to see the main roster in his life. You know what I mean? Like, you're the worst of the worst. So anyways, I digress, but that's how that's going to go. Catch this. Now, with all that being said, we move on to the next segment. This was one of the worst segments of all time. And the primary reason, I mean, I think I've given many reasons thus far as to why this was the worst episode of Raw ever. But this one is going to take the cake, I think, right? Gunther comes out, right? So you know things about to get boring, right? Gunther comes out and does the one thing that Gunther does. Cut the Gunther promo. The Gunther promo pretty much is, quote, the other guy isn't good enough compared to me, end quote, promo, right? Every promo Gunther has cut is basically, I'm going to fight somebody and they are my inferior. That's literally every promo. There is no tweaking it. There is no adding anything else. It's basically like, I am the ring general and you do not respect the mat, right? And I am going to kick your ass. It's like fucking, like, I don't even think it's possible. I swear to God, motherfuckers. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's possible to make a more boring wrestler than Gunther. Gunther is the Nas of wrestling, right? He is boring and he's overrated, and people pretend that liking him makes them more knowledgeable. And everyone is wrong and the hater is right. He is the Nas of wrestling, motherfuckers. It's like, you look at it, you're like, I'm gonna fucking fall asleep if I hear one more Nas song, man. You know, on the way home from the airport, the hater put on his Spotify, and one of the songs that came on was Grills by, what's it called? Nelly, featuring Paul Wall and Ali and Big Gip, right? This is a great song for those that don't know it, right? It's a fun song about wearing mouth jewelry, about wearing grills, right? I thought to myself, who the fuck would rather listen to, like, Nas say, if I rule the world, you don't. Shut the fuck up. You're not that interesting. You know what I'm saying? Gunther is that, but in wrestling, right? If I ruled the world, yeah, no shit. If I ruled the world, things would be different too. Dumb fuck. Thank you for saying something that people have said literally for 5,000 years. Anyways, whatever, it is what it is. Speaking of something people have said for 5,000 years, Gunther says he's going to beat up Goldberg, right? The fact that Goldberg is involved in the situation by name, I think really speaks volumes to how shit wrestling is. As this is happening, Seth Rollins comes out. Gunther has a good line here. Gunther says, hey, Seth, you flew like halfway around the world, right, to fail. You know, plain and simple, motherfuckers. Gunther's right. Seth Rollins then gaslights everybody and says, my goal was not to win the world title. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like, we're not retarded. We saw you with the briefcase. He's like, my goal was to stop CM Punk. What? Then why the fuck are you here? And then Seth Rollins says, I'm here because I'm going to assault both world titles. Why? I thought you just said your goal was to stop CM Punk. Why do you even care about the world title? Why were you even in the Money in the Bank? Like, what the fuck are these people think we're retarded, motherfuckers? Worst episode of all time, right? And just to think that this shit would end here, it doesn't. CM Punk comes out, he beats Seth Rollins a little bit, pushes Gunther, He pushes Gunther, motherfucker. He gives Gunther a nice push, and Gunther falls down looking all bewildered. Seth Rollins runs into the crowd, gets attacked by LA Knight. Nobody could care about this at all, right? Like, the fact is, like, LA Knight, I like him, of course, but think about Goldberg, right? Who was only mentioned by name. Like, just think about Goldberg and think about everybody else, including LA Knight, that's involved in this, right? And you tell me, motherfucks, you answer this question. What's more exciting? These four or five people combined, or Goldberg by himself? The answer is obviously Goldberg by himself. I'm not even a big Goldberg guy. Anyways, that comes down like that. Nobody cares. After the match, we have a voting ceremony. Roxanne gets added to Jobber Day via democratic vote, right? They're doing the same thing they did with Rhea, but they're doing it to Liv, right? But with her being added and the Judgment Day winning the tag team titles earlier tonight, every current member of Judgment Day except for Liv has a title, right? Granted, nobody really cares, but they do have titles, right? So that's how that goes down. Obviously, like, Raquel is a little bit, like, hesitant, but she goes along with it, right? Then we've got Lyra versus Becky. Now, I think it goes without saying that this is one of the worst things to ever happen on TV. Now, what's worse? Let me ask you a question. What's worse than Lyra versus Becky? Not Becky, Bailey, right? I'll tell you what's worse than that. That match happening and ending in a draw. This is unacceptable. I could not care less about this match, and they make it into a draw. Like, I'm not joking, motherfuckers. You know, obviously I don't want to wish ill on anybody. I don't want to wish death on anybody or injury on anybody. But I swear to God, if for some reason Lyra and Becky get fired and I never see them again, I don't give a shit. I don't care at all, one way or another. You know? It's just, they're not entertaining. You know? Simple as that, motherfuckers. After this, we have LA Knight versus Seth being announced for Saturday Night Midcard. And then CM Punk goes to LA Knight and he says, hey, Seth's mine. Like, get in line. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he was already in a feud. LA Knight was already in a feud with Seth. What do you mean Seth's yours? Dumb fuck. You wrestled him at WrestleMania. Like, what more do you want, you know? And basically LA Knight completely buries CM Punk on the mic. He's like, look, the line, I am the line. Yeah, and that's it, motherfucks. Now it's time for the main event. Now, as if you guys need any more convincing, I think we all know that I'm 100% right about this being the worst episode ever. But if you needed any more convincing, this main event is going to be that convincing. Let me put it to you this way, all right? We have what's best known as a lackey battle, okay? We have Seth Rollins' lackeys wrestling Sami Zayn, who is now a mid to undercard jobber, and Pentagon, who is basically on the same level as Rusev and Aleister Black. A flash in the pan that nobody's going to care about in about 4 or 5 months, right? Like, by next WrestleMania, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Like, Rusev, fucking Phoenix. Well, Phoenix and Pentagon might get a tag team run, but if they don't, then Phoenix, Pentagon, Rusev, Aleister Black, guaranteed these motherfuckers are going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. They are not having any other kind of match at WrestleMania. They will be in the Battle Royal along with people like the Creed brothers, along with people like Xavier Woods, you know, like the jobbers of the company, right? So there you have it. You know, with that being said, that's your main event. I don't know to tell you, motherfucks. This is not a good main event. The match was boring. It doesn't matter at all who wins or loses, right? Like, imagine if Sami Zayn just rolls up Braun Breaker. So what, right? So what? What does that prove? What does that lead to? You know, that's not what happens. Braun Breaker spears, I think he spears Sami, I don't remember. He spears one of these jobbers and pins him. Then he spears Penta, and Bronson Reed goes for the tsunami. But the big man, Jey Uso, Yeet, the Yeet Master himself, comes out and saves the day. I personally think that Jey Uso coming out to save the day was done only for one reason, and that is so that after Raw goes off air, the fans can dance and have a moment. That's the only reason, because this was completely retarded. It made absolutely no sense. Cookie Rhodes wasn't there. Right now, I know that he's technically on SmackDown, but it doesn't matter, motherfucks. He should be there because he's the King of the Ring winner, right? It's really that simple, motherfucks. Jade Cargill, also on SmackDown, should be there because she's the King of the Ring winner. Like, we need some follow-through with fucking King of the Ring, which was the event. Likewise, motherfucks, Cena wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So, what the hell? CM Punk was there, but he's already moving on. You know, he has nothing more to say about Cena. He is a fucking loser. And that's going to be the topic of my next video, but we'll deal with that tomorrow. Cucks this. Haters back, motherfucks. Take care of yourselves and go fuck your mothers. Cucks!